last little presentation. These are things I daydream about having. Enhanced finder charts for pre-point. Having them off of the paper onto some laptop or tablet with night mode lighting so that you can turn it on and not blind yourself, with a screen that progresses the display as the time proceeds, as well as being able to drill down to go through finer and finer detail to get closer and closer in, and customizable to match the screen display. That's one. Another would be able to configure the Windows computers to be better at data capture so that we get an option somehow for a stripped mode, removing the apps you don't need for data capture. Windows computers come with all sorts of things that are just not necessary and get in the way when you're trying to do data capture. So you can maximize the data capture priority. As well as I have learned it would be really nice to have batteries that are easily replaced, especially if you try to go on eBay or buy used computer equipment. A lot of times when they are reconditioned, that doesn't include replacing the battery. And I have had several computers fail for that reason. And I have had experience in replacing batteries. This particular computer I'm using for display has its third battery right now. And here is my daydreams on what I'd like with a camera. It would be really nice to have a camera with IOTA VTI built-in GPS capability. Increased sensitivity, of course, is always nice. Dew resistant is a really high priority, I think, and inexpensive. Also, I would like to see onboard temporary capture or a possible way of capturing between the camera and the capture computer so that you get higher speed data capture and then that gets forwarded to the computer at the rate that the computer can accept, so you don't have any more drop frame problems. Okay. And a couple of comments about the USB. The USB standard emphasizes the ease of use and low expense, but doesn't really emphasize precision. So I have some issues that I've shown up. This particular adapter, which is handy for a reason, because then you can the cable is not sticking straight out. You can store a cable alongside the computer, but it is a long plug, and the receptacle that it's going into is short. The other, I've seen the opposite, a short plug for the USB and a long USB receptacle, so it's not making communications. Or the loose-fitting USB plug and it falls out. That actually seems to happen more with the USB-C than other types of USB plugs. And a tight fit where the plug can actually damage the receptacle because it's so hard to shove it in. That has happened on our QHY GPS. And on cable length, the USB 3.0 standard does not specify a maximal cord length, but the comment has been that the maximum practical length for copper wiring to meet the electrical specs is 3 meters, or about 9.8 feet. And I use a USB tester to resolve each problems, and I can show this after I stop screen sharing. But here's a slide showing it in use. This particular setup, that's with that same plug I'm talking about. I wiggle it around so that, yeah, it's not making good connection. You see there's nothing's getting through, 0 amps. And this is this particular thing is a port extender, and this type of model I have found, it has like 4 different ports. Sometimes the end ports, particularly the one that's furthest from the cord, is not as good as the others. When I went to make this particular view graph to try to find a setup that actually failed, I discovered I'd actually tossed all of my cables that didn't work very well. And so I had a hard time finding one that would fail. And this is what it looks like when it's working 2.3. 0.23 amps, I'm sorry, and it's fine. And just for your information, this is a little specifications review from Wikipedia on all the different kinds of USB specs, and a couple comments on the number of pins. It started out with 4 pins for USB 2, went to 9 pins for USB 3. The USB-C Type-C plug has 24 pins and 12 per side. It's a little hard to imagine on such a tiny little device, but if you turn it on and shine a flashlight down, you will see there really are 24 down there. It's amazing. The QHY camera is a Type B USB 3. It's this one. And the last comment, USB-C is the only one that's going to be available in the future. So that means that future cameras are not going to be able to use a Type B. They'll have to go to USB-C, which would be nice because then you don't have to have specialized cables for everything. But it's not so great because then you need adapters for all your old ones. By the way, I have seen a comment that actually it was in the Eversham literature, a tester, that while the Type-C is described as being for USB 3, the early versions that might have been sold only actually implemented the connectors for USB 2. And I thought I had actually detected that. I went to go see if I could test that. And those were among the cables that I had tossed. So that is the last of my talks. So if anybody has a question, we still have a minute or so. I guess nobody must have stunned you all.
Hi, Joan, Ted. I've seen people who have those big, heavy Dobbs, and some of them have actually placed a table attached to the rocker box base that rotates with the scope. I don't know if
Yeah, that would be nice, but we haven't figured out how to do that.
I don't know if there's a
With
way.
not with the
The old
QH.
the obsessions weigh so much that they plus it's for visual use mostly, but the obsessions, a lot of obsession users have figured
Right.
out how to do that. It'd be fun to have that table rotate around with your
But
scope.
it would be really nice to have the table rotate around because then you can really control the wires and you can control
Yeah,
the
yeah,
things better. But the Skywatcher is fairly lightweight as for a
exactly. It
16-inch
doesn't have the
telescope.
mass to support that the way those old
No.
obsessions do.
Oh, this is, I can't see my own picture, but this is the Eversham.
Little lower.
Does that show?
Right there.
Yeah,
Okay.
nice
Uh,
to know.
they're available on Amazon, and actually a number of different companies are selling things that look exactly like that. So I'm not sure who is the actual source for the Eversham, but okay. Now that's pretty much the end of what I have.
Thank you very much, Joan.
So, okay.
That was fine. David is next.